Hi again. Let's continue. Well, in last time, I have told you that the specific skill we are talking um, on in the case represented by this table is the case when a company, a skill increases human capital in when a person works in uh, a particular company. Let me make this completely 40 so that I mean the increase in other companies are exactly zero, and the same skill doesn't increase the productivity of the same person in other companies. In reality, I mean that can be some increase. The increase might not be should not be necessarily completely zero. But anyway, um, well, in this case, our individual has a specific human capital, and since that human capital is likely to increase the revenue of uh, the company might pay for the training of that person. Um, in when we look to the whole economy, we might also call them particular skills that are only useful in certain sectors, also like specific human capital. Um, but when a specific human capital is useful in a whole sector, in that case, the company might still be reluctant to pay the payment for any training program which gives that specific human capital to that person, which is useful in whole sector. So if McDonald's gives a training, probably it might have, for example, teach some kind of production methods or basically process that is only used in McDonald's, that is just designed for McDonald's, ideally at least. Of course, when we, in reality, sometimes companies might pay also for certain trainings that increase the general human capital or specific human capital that is useful in the whole sector, basically because they have, as I said, a monopoly power on the workers. The workers already get some experience, learn certain things while working in the job, which are only useful in those sectors. If even if that's only learning to how to cooperate, how to work with certain people, even that's an important specific human capital that is only useful in that sector because those people are in that sector. Only useful in that company because those people are in that company. So you cannot get the same people work with the same people in different company. Uh, well, only maybe in very extreme cases where people move from one company to another together, basically. But that's a very exceptional case. Okay, so this concludes the chapter. Now we can start looking to the practice questions. So write a factor that will decrease the present value of the future earnings. Well, if the interest rate goes up, that means you need more money in future to compensate the stable income, the income to the same income today, which also means the income you will earn in future worth less. The present value of your future income worth less today. Um, that's a general answer, but you might also say try to guess what factor might decrease this interest rate. For example, interest in relatively more interest in um, well, present time consumption rather than future consumption, which might happen because you might have a sudden expense like healthcare expense or something you want to go do very much. For example, going to a concert, um, or as a young person, for example, going to the soccer tournament, the World Soccer Cup games in a country. Or if your wealth level is too low, if you need to meet your needs, you struggle to meet your needs every day. In that case, also that might decrease the present value of your future earnings as possible. So you can also describe some specific factor when you answer such a question. Assume Girne municipality recently is aiming to increase percentage of college graduates within the labor force. Write one policy Girne can use to do that. Well, first, of course, you can subsidize the education cost. In that case, people need to pay less, so even if the value of education is less for them, they might still get the education. Other way around, you might, if you are able to do that, you might try to find a way to increase wage level of the skilled workforce. Maybe you can create job opportunities for them. An unpleasant way is actually, for example, you can remove the minimum wage. To do that, you might aim to reduce the wage level of the unskilled workers, and alternatively, you might provide certain things, for example, cheap accommodation for the students. Even you might subsidize entertainment, certain cost of the students, so that the discount factor of the students, the interest rate of the students gets smaller, so they value the value they give to the future income will increase in that way. So they need less income to compensate the same income today. So the income they will earn in the future as a college graduate becomes more valuable for them when they look from today's perspective. Okay, write a training program that might increase specific human capital level of a worker working in the factory. Well, I don't know if they learn how to use a machine which is just designed for that factory, or if they learn how to use a software which is just written for that factory. In that case, that might increase the specific human capital of the worker working in that factory. Also, maybe some learning which is designed to which makes two people how to work together. In a way, or not only two people. The different workers in the factory join to the training to learn how to work more efficiently together. In that case, that training can only be used by people who get that training, and maybe if you go out of the factory, you might not be able to find people who have been trained in that way. So you might have learned in that training how to be more productive, specifically when you work with the people in that factory. So in that case, your training might be useless when you work in a different place. Why do workers with higher education can earn higher wages according to Signal? Because basically, getting higher education signals the employers that they are more productive. Why? Because when they got the education, they decided that they can go over the courses and the workload of that education easily and graduate in a time as short as possible. And that ability to finish that university in the right time and the trusting to that ability shows that actually that person is more skilled. It signals to the employers that that worker is more skilled. Assume James, the parents of James have high level of medical expenses, which increases his interest rate. How will this affect present value of future earnings? Well, assuming the level of earnings remains the same, the interest rate increases, which means the future earnings become less valuable. Okay. Assume a worker in McDonald's is getting $10,000 wage per year. Assume at the start of 2014, one of the employers is given two options. Either she can choose to get $10,000 for the last 3 years, after which she will retire, or she can get training 2014 and get $15,000 for the last 2 years. The company might not know that she will retire. Assume her interest rate is 50%. Well, you should basically do, well, we can do all of it. So, let's start. So, interest rate 0.5. So, income with training, so years with training without that's rate, by the way. So 1, 2, 3. This is 10,000, 10,000. This is 0, 15,000, 15,000. So of course I'm sorry. What I should do is this actually. I should take this amount, divide it to 1 plus this. And to the top I put the year. So you see the value of the earnings basically in successive years. Now I can do the same thing here. Only now I need to take a 7, of course this is equal sign. Okay, when I sum everything, without training, actually, the first one is without training. This is without. You got around $14,000, while with training you got around $11,000. So value of education is actually in this case negative. Training is in this case, you subtract the income with training from income without training. So it is around minus $3,000, which means in order to convince this person to get training, you should actually give that person $3,000 to get the training, basically. What is the interest rate that makes this person to get education? Well, one way to do that, actually, you can just play with the interest rate and try different values, but you can also find a mathematical formula if you want that will actually show you. Note that we have the formula here, and this is the interest rate basically. So playing with the values, you can find the formula, but I'm leaving that also to you. If you want to discuss with me how to find the formula, then tell me, we can do that. I can even put you the solution. If one of you is at least very much interested, I can put it to the ODTÜ class. But here actually we have an easy way to do that. If without education, this person is getting $10,000 per 3 years, which is in total $30,000. So with training, he will get $15,000 in the last 2 years. So in the last 2 years, he will get $30,000. So the same money is taken, but a part of it is taken at a later time. So if this person in any way find the future income less valuable than the current income, in that case he will choose the first case, because in that case he will get the money earlier, basically.